News, breaking news, bringing you the weirdest thing on the news. Greetings and salutations, friends and enthusiastic audience members. I am your host, the incorrigible Mr. Zeppo, and I'm here with you today with something really weird on the news. Let's go remote to our reporter in the field with this bizarre instance of what may or may not be a genuine Freudian slip or just a case of the mumbles. In it and put it up on the corkboard and circle back because I explain that every couple of episodes. Hang on a second. Technical issues require me to start over again from the beginning. Apologies. Breaking news. This is the clip I meant to cue up correctly and failed to do so. Here you go. There it is now. Here it comes. Live in the field. And for those of you wondering, by that I mean my living room. Live from my living room, something that I've been puzzling over for the last however long since the first time I heard this live on the news. Now, go to the corkboard and see all the pins about news and the media, etc. If you're like going to start accusing me of blah, 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 just go to the corkboard. And if you don't know what the corkboard is, put a pin in it and put it up on the corkboard and circle back because I explain that every couple of episodes. This is breaking news live on tape because I'm not broadcasting yet. What I'm about to play... I am now, but I wasn't then when I made this recording. This happened a bit ago, and I was just... Well, you'll see. I just needed to capture it, so I just went straight to like recording on my audio note recorder. Back to the tape of the event itself. And hopefully not get in trouble for audio capturing. I just want to get this one individual's actual words and they haven't edited or manipulated this. But let me explain to you. I totally just mumble mouthed that, I realize. I said they have not edited it other than to trim it to the clip they're going to play, obviously. And what I was trying to attest to by saying that is that that's exactly what I saw when I saw it live. They're just referencing it a couple of days later. Anyways, sorry to interrupt myself in my own narration. Back to myself on tape. The Beat with Ari Melber on MSNBC, either yesterday or the day before yesterday, Trump's number 2 or number 3 lawyer very curiously and awkwardly with the last name of Epstein, whatever. He sounds just like what's his name's name. He's like the number 2 or 3 under Giuliani and that lady whose name currently escapes me. The tall, she has a weird name that also kind of like is hard for me to pronounce. And when a name is hard for me to pronounce, it's hard for me to remember. But I digress. Okay, that's embarrassing. I wish I had taken the time to edit that, but I didn't. Because I do this by the seat of my pants. And I definitely don't have any help while I do it. But I digress. I digress within my own digression. Lawyer was on either yesterday or the day before talking to Ari Melber. And he was getting grilled by Ari. It also happened to be the day that he got hit with a subpoena for the 1-6 committee. My impression of his entire discussion that I watched, in real time live, whatever it was, yesterday or the day before, he was very shrewdly defending the forgery of fake electors plot. And by that, for those of you who don't know, it's the plot in about either 6 or 7 different states, might be more, we just haven't uncovered it, where a set of fake, bogus, invalid electoral electors set up a fake slate, right, in favor of Trump. And a set of nearly identical, boilerplate, here's how you forge it, guys, kind of documents were then filled out and submitted with people's signatures, making the false claim, which is why it's considered a forgery, making the false claim that they were the, quote, duly elected slate of electoral college voters, right? Based on the popular vote count. Now, these were lies. In the reality, the fact that in those states, the facts on the ground did not support the claim. They could not legally say that. In fact, the real electors were busy doing the legitimate series of things that you do with all the other officials involved that you would do them in. This was just groups of Republicans willing to sign their names to an illegitimate document. So this lawyer, and this has happened, of course, back in the real time, back in the day when the election was being counted before the winner was announced, right? They set this up, and the documents were submitted to the Congressional Archive or the Presidential Archive or whichever archive it is that they go to, and to the two of the right places that those things are supposed to be submitted to, but not in the right way and not with any legitimacy based on the actual vote count. One of Trump's lawyers, this guy Epstein, however you pronounce it, who is, I think, arguably no direct relation to the mysteriously dead Epstein of the previous crazy story. Or is he? I don't know. I don't pretend to know. I just think that's funny that I even brought it up. But why am I even talking about that other story when this thing is so much more interesting, in as much as that it's verifiable? There's no end to which we can verify this. It's verifiable, hard fact. He was making, and I had to give him credit, he was making a very solid sounding, very credible sounding argument that what they did, contacting these people, getting them to sign this boilerplate document that they sent to, swing states where they thought the margin would be really thin. For the first time in public record, openly admitting that he and Giuliani and the lady were all involved in coordinating this effort. And B, that it was built on a legal rationale, based, anchored in the rules that govern the Electoral College. Their argument is a huge effing stretch because of one critical problem. They, as current sitting presidential administration, officials, are not allowed to tell the states to do this. That's the legitimate flaw in the entire scheme. The president in office can't tell his lawyers to tell swing states to draw up an alternate set of electors at all. Like, that makes it completely impossible. Any state can, and I'm only clarifying this for the fact that that's part, their argument is in part sort of sounds legitimate. A state can choose to prepare an alternate slate, in the flow of an election process. And yes, a state or the candidate can ask for a review and whatnot, and they did, right, over and over again. But the president can't order, just like with the other issue, the president can't call up a Secretary of State and say, hey, could you just sort of add an extra 2,000 votes to my tally, please? It does, that's obviously cheating. That's the thing that they broke. A state, and I've explained this before, but here's the part I want to get to, and I want to grab this off the air. I paused MSNBC, and I don't want to infringe their licensing rights, but this is so important. This is news, breaking news. This is why I have this segment. I don't do it all the time, but when the news breaks so hard, and I totally lose my train of thought there, I think, but don't sue me, okay? I'm not trying to get sued by MSNBC. In fact, the right and proper way for me to probably do this is to go to MSNBC, find the Ari Melber show, and hope and pray that the same moment is available on a shareable clip, and then share that on social media and write the comment. But this is my podcast show. And I made this audio recording because I was just like, wait, what? This has to be captured for history. And I believe in, and I know that this is already an existing, character that's been spoofed. I just saw a show that has a character like this, someone that obsessive compulsively records the content of, television broadcasts for some sort of independent archival purpose. As in to say, this is what happened on TV live. And so any claim that's altered can be verified against it because this is an independent and unedited archive of just me recording it. Except this is my podcast show, and I just want to talk about the fact that this lawyer goes on TV and says the following thing, and it's just too mind-bogglingly weird and funny that he said it, which is why I went to the lengths that I'm going to share it with you. But I digress. If this is, and I apologize now, if this is, and it's just a tiny little clip, but I think in the post-social media age, it should be forgivable. And if anything, this should help my show go viral and make me famous, so I can pay my bills doing my podcast and be, a job creator and be able to pay licensing fees, et cetera, et cetera. To that end, you can help support the show by going to solo.to/Mr. Zeppo and checking out the links. Okay, back to the footage, the audio footage of which I'm nerve-wrackingly teasing out and not actually letting you hear yet. Here we go. Look at all the pins about the news and conspiracy theories about the news on the corkboard. They're there. And by that, I mean, listen to all the other episodes. I'm not going to explain myself now. This is Trump's actual lawyer actually speaking on the record. So who gives a fuck about MSNBC and their particular attempt to slant it? I'm not trying to get you to listen to their talking head. I want you to hear what the lawyer says, because I think, and I'm really trying to figure out what it is, I think he made a massive but true Freudian slip. Let me explain this is the perfect clip. And I don't think anyone's commented on this before, which is why I think I might be breaking some news. The lawyer is trying to defend what they did and say that it was perfectly okay, that it was within the boundary of the law, that it was not illegal for him and Giuliani, and arguably probably sitting in the same room with President Trump, come up with this scheme, make the boilerplate files, and send them to 7 different states. and tell people there to sort of, hustle, sideline, go over there and get people to sign these things and submit them, etc., right? But what it sounds like he says is, and here's the thing, it would be huge if it was a genuine and authentic Freudian slip, which is when you say the real thing instead of the thing you're fibbing about. Or, you say the other thing, the thing you're really thinking, as opposed to what you're meaning to say. He says it sounds like they did everything illegally. And I just want to capture the moment because they're literally, I heard it live the other day, and then I've heard it on Ari Melber's show get repeated, and I haven't heard anyone comment on the fact that clearly the man is trying to say we did it legally, and it totally effing sounds like he says we did it illegally. And I'm going to pause the tape right here and be very perfectly clear. I'm not trying to accuse anyone of anything. I'm telling you my experience of watching this guy talk on TV is as this. Like, it sounds like to me, and I'm asking the world, does this sound like it to you too? And I'm not trying to come up with an accusation. I'm asking, like, what happened there? And shouldn't he's already getting he made tons of headlines, right? And let's be really clear, to the best of my knowledge, and I have not had the chance to go and read through every sentence of every paragraph of all of those articles of the headlines that he made. I'm not pretending to either. Because he kind of, go read those articles, or at least read a sampling of them. But in that interview, the thing that seemed to be new information on public record was the fact that this was indeed a coordinated, that these 7 different states that submitted these 7 different completely invalid elector slates, they were all boilerplatey template documents that looked exactly alike, except for the few bits that needed to be different to be the different states and the names and the signatures. And that's not an inconsequential coincidence at all. And that's exactly how you're not supposed to do the thing that this lawyer is arguing they were doing. Okay? Okay. Enough of a preamble. I think we're finally at the bit where I pushed play on the television while I was taking this audio note. Forgive me for all the weird interjections, and if I've confused it instead of clarified it, I apologize. Just listen to what he says. And when that happens, you have to probe deeper as to why the mess up, why the slip. Of course, I get it. Everyone's going to say, well, it's just a silly accident. But just hear me out and just hear his words and his tone. Okay. I'm pushing play. Ari Member's going to talk about something, and then he's going to cut to the clip I'm talking about.
And as a matter of lawyering, Epstein was clear on another point. He wasn't doing this alone. This was not a solo dolo kind of plot. He told me, Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani led it all as he went about all of those offbeat press conferences and spread conspiracy theories.
Everything that was done illegally by the Trump legal team, according to the rules and under the leadership of
conferences and spread.
Did you hear it?
Theories.
Everything that was done illegally by the Trump legal team, according to the rules and under the leadership of Rudy Giuliani. We fought for the truth.
Am I right? Or am I right? Or am I crazy? Let me pause here. As a sane, rational, self-aware, conscious, cybernetic life form from another timeline, sent here to warn you guys about your decision-making choices over the next 30 years. Only, to discover that you're on a completely different track than we thought. That's a whole nother story. And that is completely fictional. This is my real-life question to you about this real-life moment in real-life news, which I'm going to write about in my literary fiction, thus the mild attempt at cosplay. Am I crazy? Or does it sound like that sentence is exactly how I describe it? It sounds like, because he was literally saying that organizing the slate of electors was something that they did together in coordination with the president and the states, but he was kind of never really specific about who in the state party. And that this alternate slate and in each state was there in anticipation of a future potential decision about an appeal that had yet to be filed, asking for some kind of, recount and reconsideration. Now, the tricky bit is that this literally happens in direct, apparent, to the best of my understanding, based on all the other stuff that I'm aware of that is factual and has been investigated by and discussed publicly by the January 6th committee. Things that are, as of right now, as of me talking, a matter of public record in regards to this investigation. This whole maneuver was happening in conjunction with the planning of both the Green Bay or the Georgia, whatever they call that, sweep, which is the effort to get, it was the Green Bay sweep, right, that they were calling it. A different lawyer has gone on record, curiously, in defense of Trump on left-wing media, which to some people, I guess, would make the whole statement suspect, but declaring that they had some amount of people in Congress prepared to support the vice president in choosing to not validate the count, to act beyond the scope of his actual declared role and limited powers constitutionally. The Green Bay sweep was an attempt to try and get to convince through the peer pressure of, look at all these fellow politicians saying, yes, you can do it. And I'm not sure of the details of that, because it's one of those things that it's like there's just shit coming out left and right about this whole situation, this whole complicated day a year ago, a year plus now, right? And I've already done a couple of different episodes, and most of the focus has been on the aggravated assault violence on the steps on the way into breaking into, and all the action done by the mob, and all the controversial mental gymnastics and pretzel making of claiming that it wasn't Trump people doing that. And there's, too much to already discussed, and too much more we can lose time discussing. There's more on the tape. I don't remember what I say next on this audio note, but back to the moment here that I'm trying to address and try to bring attention to on this podcast episode. This lawyer is attempting to make a definitive statement, and to flub like that just it's no proof of nothing, right? I get it. I'm not an idiot. That doesn't automatically prove, but it sure doesn't help. And it makes you wonder. Because if we're gonna question everything, we have to question everything, including why the Trump administration and his sycophants are so bizarrely two-faced and behave so shady in the height of their power during the Trump administration, because it's a complicated mess, right? And a lot of people just want to be over it the way they want to be over COVID. But I'm sorry to break it to anybody who's not realized this. It doesn't work that way. History will move forward, and the momentum of all of these things will disabuse anyone who wants to be over it because they're just tired of not thinking about it. But I digress. I'm going to push play on the rest of this tape and see what else I had to say there. I don't know about you, but that to me sounds like a suspicious AF, genuine Freudian slip. Like, if you're going on live TV on the opposition side's supposedly hyper-slanted, delusional, lying about your candidate's channel, and you're going to make the definitive declarative statement, you're going to want to make sure you effing enunciate. And why is that important? Because if you're just going to say everything was done illegally, then what's to stop the media from then making that a headline? Trump lawyer admits all of this was an illegal scheme. I mean, like, I'm not writing that headline. I'm asking the question, what the hell just happened there in that audio, in that guy's statement? And also it astounds me, right? Part of the commentary, or part of the cynicism of this segment, is breaking news. And I also love, I don't do it often enough, but I sometimes like to make it breaking news an internal loop, because it is a sort of self-perpetuating loop of nonsense. But I'm also not an ardent denier of all things mainstream media, because that kind of absolutist thinking is, for those of you who've been following along and are familiar with the tone of this show, absolutist statements are rarely absolutely true. So absolutist thinking rarely helps you, like, deal with reality, because reality doesn't work that way. But I digress. Put a pin in that. Talked about that quite a few times, and it's worth connecting the threads, because it relates to how information and opinion and emotion are being manipulated in our world. Sometimes quite overtly, sometimes quite subtly, but more importantly, sometimes kind of unconsciously. But one of the things about this is that, like, the news kind of broke there. Why didn't Ari follow up on that? To the best of my knowledge and memory, he didn't. And as of yet, no one's asked the question, did he just say they did everything illegally? Because that's what it effing sounds like he says. And whether it was an accident or not, if it's an accident, he should be given the chance to, like, double down and clean it up and be like, no, I absolutely meant to say everything was done legally. Which is, of course, what he's clearly intending to say throughout the course of his entire commentary, because obviously there's a lot more to what he said than what I just played you. But and I'm going to go back and find and do my best to find this clip on the annals of the interweb. But also, I've got so much other shit on my slate, I may never get around to it. But as a not a journalist, I can't help but make the critical comment that, like, if I had been there as a journalist, I would have stopped and gone, whoa. Play the tape back. Is that what you meant to say? And then dig into it, because it's like, what's going on? And also, I would have asked again how on earth it is that they think that the sitting incumbent president telling this like a dictator, telling people to coordinate this, how can they interpret that as being within the bounds of the law and not way beyond the limits of the law as written? Because I think it's fairly obvious that the whole body of the law would prohibit anyone on either side to dictate to the states how to choose their electoral college slate, and to boilerplate it and template it that way and be like, here, just gather 6 or 7 knuckleheads and sign this, right? Like, I'm sure that's not what they said. I'm being a bad cynic, a way too cynical commentator. But I digress. I return back to my point. It's just, I died laughing at this guy's slip up the other day and really, really thought about like commenting about it somewhere, but also didn't have a clip, right? Like I really have to go to see if I can find one that's been published so that I can share it on social media. Because it's hilarious. No matter how you slice it, it's hilarious. I don't know if I can rewind back to that point. I guess not. There's still a little wee bit more I recorded, so I will stop rambling now and let it play out to the end. I get it. I can totally be reading way too much into it, but I had to just capture that audio and share it with you. And I'm not going to jump to any conclusions, other than the fact that I think that they know that what they did is beyond the scope of the law. Okay? I know, and everyone's in his, I have to interject. Sorry, not sorry. That is my opinion. Bottom line, right? And it actually fits in perfectly with this sort of overall psychological impression of Trump. He's a projector. He's a liar and a projector. He will project nonsense onto someone else because that's what he's doing. He will accuse other people of being narcissists because he's kind of a narcissist. He will accuse other people of being cheap or scam artists because he is a cheap scam artist. And I know that may infringe on like the caseload of court cases before he ever decided to run for office can lead someone to that kind of conclusion about this person as a public figure. Sorry, not sorry. Have I crossed a line? I don't know. But the fact that this lawyer literally sounds like he said illegally. I wish I had a shorter clip of just that. I would play it all over again and again. In fact, I'm probably going to do that next. I really wish dearsprecher.com feature notification for my wish list. I want to put this. Please make this a feature of a future update of the Sprecher podcast studio. I've got my file queued up. NBN breaking news. Trump's lawyer said what on TV, and I'm just a few clicks past the funny bit, and I just want to be able to play it from right there again, and I can't. And I would love to, but if you're listening, Sprecher.com, much love and thank you, and an honest and genuine, enthusiastic thumbs up endorsement as a platform. If you're looking to get into doing your own podcast, it's the platform I'm using. You're listening to the show because I'm doing it on them. Oh, that sounded way worse than I meant it to. You're listening to the show because I use their platform. So thank you for being you, Sprecher.com. And also, can you add that to the? Can there be a little rewind button with the 15-second loopy bits so I can be like boop boop boop? There's the bit. Play it again. It's necessary. It's critical to the. I would have a funny thing right here and be able to listen to that guy say that again. But I digress. I'm seriously not going to interrupt myself again, I swear. Gives the benefit of the doubt of being innocent until proven guilty, but I'm looking at my basic rudimentary understanding of things, and I think it's going to be easy to prove that they're guilty of setting up this fake elector slate scheme on states where clearly, absolutely, categorically, those signatures were not duly, correctly, legally, accurately the right ones, the correct ones to submit. They were not the legal slate of electors. And if Donald Trump was in the room telling Rudy Giuliani and this other guy Epstein and whoever else was involved to do it, then it's totally categorically fraudulent and corrupt, because the whole point of the Electoral College is to make sure that the states have equity amongst each other in terms of ratio of representation, and to make sure that there's a process for verifying the popular vote, in then therefore having a simple and efficient mechanism to, that the popular vote awards the electoral votes. So what they, and you're not supposed to give top-down orders from a sitting, incumbent president to fudge it in your favor, because that's called cheating. Back to you in the studio live. Okay, folks. That's what I gotta say about that. Thanks for tuning in and hearing me out. What do you think? Doesn't it sound like he just saying the quiet part out loud, kind of by accident? But who knows? Obviously, of course, legally speaking, the entire enterprise is given the benefit of the doubt of being innocent until proven guilty. And I'm not prophetic-minded enough to pretend to be saying that I'm predicting that there's going to be, a declaration of guilt here. But, I wouldn't want to be in their shoes right now, let me tell you. Because I wouldn't want to be dealing with the onslaught of criminal and civil lawsuits or how many special jury investigations have been cracked open now? I think they're going on their third or fourth. And I don't mean in sequence, like they've had to renew the jury 3 or 4 times. I think there's 3 different jurisdictions that have opened a special jury investigation into some aspect of this entire collection of, collected series of events we call the very short-lived period of Trumptopia. And to close out the show, for the record, please be aware that just because I'm calling out one thing doesn't mean that I'm blindly defending its antithesis. Don't go projecting crazy assumptions about anything other than what I'm asking, what I'm calling out for discussion. Because put a pin in it, it's probably already been a subject on the show. I humbly invite you, dear friends, to tune in for more and join me on a journey through time and space as I real-time commentary recorded myself over the past 5 years during what is undeniably history's most comically bizarre and epically, cynically insane presidential administration. If you can say anything else about what went on during the Trumptopian era, it was the weirdest, craziest, what the hell do they think they're doing, period, in living history. And it's been an honor and a pleasure to have been live podcasting about it at you with my deep, genuine, sincerest critical analysis thinky thoughts. As flawed as my delivery may have been, as disorganized as the show might appear at first glance, I humbly invite you to delve deep and spiral around and stay tuned for more. And now, DJ Zed, let's wrap it up. This has been News, Breaking News, a special segment of the almost daily Zencast. And I've been your moderately eloquent, if only slightly easily derailed host, the incorrigible Mr. Zappa.